Hello, John from the Lib Dem Podcast here. We are delighted to say that this episode is sponsored by Prater Rains. Now more than ever, you need a professional-looking online presence and website. Prater Rains have been helping Liberal Democrat campaigns succeed for 18 years. Their Lib Dem Foci package combines a website, social media and email system to help Lib Dems win. You'll receive great support from real people, fair pricing and a huge range of features to choose from. Prater Rains are already the bespoke developers for Lighthouse, Lib Dem Draw Online and the LD Directory. They combine a talented system design with an unrivaled understanding of our party, our data and our systems. To find out more, check out the Prater Rains website at praterrains.co.uk/liberal-democrats.
Hi, so welcome to the Lib Dem Podcast live in Tiverton. I'm here with Alice Bridges-Westcott, who is a friend of the podcast, who is the Deputy Campaign Manager for the Tiverton and Honiton by-election. Yeah. Alice, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
So Alice, can you tell us a little bit more about why there's a by-election here?
So a Tory MP has resigned, something to do with some tractors, not sure quite what, but yes, a Tory MP has resigned, so there will be a by-election.
Fantastic. Yeah, so for those of you who don't remember the incredibly amusing excuse that Neil Parish MP gave for watching pornography in the House of Commons, it was that he had been looking for something to do with tractors and his finger had slipped and he ended up watching porn, and then unfortunately it seemed to happen a second time. Hate it when that happens.
So easily done.
So so we're here in Tiverton. Alice, how's it been going?
So I think it's been going really well. We've had a few people through the doors in the last couple of weekends, and obviously it's been great to see so many people from across the country. Obviously you're here, which is amazing. People already coming down and giving us a hand, even though some of them have just finished local elections, so that's been amazing. But I think we need more people, basically, is the big message.
This is a really important period. Can you explain why that is?
So it's the time when we can kind of get motivated and get going really quickly, which is something that the other parties aren't typically very good at. It's kind of what helped us in Cheshire, it's what helped us in North Shropshire. This time before it's actually going into the sort of the regulated period for the term makes it sort of much easier for us to actually go out and do really well, because we've kind of set everything up, we've got momentum, we've built volume, we've done all those sorts of things ready for the actual regulated period. And it's really important that we get as many people down now. I think there is often a bit of a, we'll come when it's called, or we'll come when we know when there's a date and all that sort of stuff. And I think, as you know, from Sheffield Hallam, that can kind of just really hamper momentum, and it can really kind of make things feel a little bit flat. And that's what we really need in the first few weeks, is this kind of everybody coming down, everybody giving us a hand to really give us the best flying start that we possibly can have.
Fantastic. And I know one of the factors in North Shropshire was that there was a very active local party that had done a lot in advance, especially running up to the local elections. Is that something that they've got here? Is that
we've got a fantastic local party here. We've got a really strong local party here. They're really lovely. They've been absolutely incredible as we've come down. They really have been fantastic, and sort of giving them, hopefully another or an MP would just be amazing, because they have been fantastic. Some of them are stood behind us as we speak, out taking leaflets. And
one of them has very helpfully provided this amazing venue for the weekend, which I don't know how well you can see it on the video, but if you're on the video, but it's a sort of warehouse distribution type centre, and it's brilliant. And great,
they really just have been fantastic, and I think there'll be I think that we'll all work kind of really well together, and I think that's quite exciting.
I think that does make a really big difference when you've got that kind of strong relationship with the local party, and they're bringing the local knowledge, and you can upskill them in terms of campaigns and really leave that legacy. And I think in Sheffield, even though we didn't have the by-election, we still have that kind of massive amount of data that we got out of it, so it is really valuable. How about the reception on the doorstep? How's that been?
So from all the anecdotal feedback, it's been really good. People are starting to understand that actually, yes, it's us versus the Tories, but we need to do more work on that. We need to make sure that they really have that message, and I think there are Conservative voters who are open to switching to us. I don't think they've quite done it yet, but they are absolutely open to having that conversation coming over. And you went out on doors yesterday, didn't you?
I think that would echo what I said. What I found, I think it was really interesting actually. in North Shropshire, we had to do a lot of work to establish ourselves as the clear runner-up party, the clear second place party, the one that could beat the Tories. And I think what I found yesterday was that work has almost been done by the national media coverage and the fact that we won in North Shropshire. And I just found, apart from one member of the Labour Party who was convinced that they were going to win it and, all of run a very active campaign, every single other person I spoke to, if they were a Liberal Democrat, if they were Labour, if they were Green, they were incredibly motivated to vote Liberal Democrat to get Boris Johnson out. I was literally stopped in the street by a couple who were pushing a pram, who were like, "We're voting for you, we're Labour, but we're voting for you. Don't knock on our door, it's a waste of time." And I was like, okay, great. So it's really, really motivated voters to kind of give the Tories a little bit of a kicking.
And
I think where it'll
be sent a message this year.
Absolutely not.
Because we haven't had local elections in Devon. So obviously across the country where we have had local elections this year, the big message is send a message. This is your opportunity to send a message. Like obviously in Devon we haven't had that. We haven't had the local elections where they haven't had that vote to send a message. So that's what also makes it quite exciting here, is this might be their opportunity to send a message.
Yeah. I think the other thing as well, though, is that the Tory vote did feel a lot harder and a lot less kind of, I think it was very clear that from yesterday that the sort of the squeeze vote, the Labour, the Green, plus the Lib Dems, incredibly motivated. I think that's something that we need to keep working on through the campaign, but actually I think that bit's likely to be okay, but that's not how we're going to be able to win it. That's not enough to win it, is it?
Yeah, we definitely need to work on those switch voters, those Tories coming over. We need to work on getting the right message to them and convincing them that actually not only is this an opportunity to send a message, but also you will, if you do vote for us, you will actually get a strong local champion who will stand up for Tiverton Honiton. And I think that's what people in this constituency really want. Like, you were saying yesterday that absolutely. There is just this sort of level of, I think people feel that they have been neglected, especially when the Tories are talking about levelling up the north. These sorts of areas are being forgotten by the Conservatives and they are being left behind. And I think people were saying that actively to you on the doorstep, and we've had that fed back to us. And I think it's about us getting the right message to those Conservatives and sort of saying, well, actually, this is your opportunity to get someone who will bang the drum for Tiverton and Honiton, which is what Lib Dem MPs are known for. When we had MPs in the southwest, they were fantastic at fighting for the rural economy and standing up for farmers and standing up for their sort of fishing communities, and that is what we need here.
And I think one of the things that's really interesting actually is that one of my most powerful messages on the doors yesterday was talking about Helen Morgan, who's been an incredible MP for North Shropshire. She won that phenomenal by-election success, and since then she's been really active on that issue of the local ambulances especially, which is the kind of really big issue in her constituency. She's secured adjournment debates, she's asked questions to the ministers, she's managed to get visits. She's been an incredibly active community champion. And I think one of the things I was saying to people is don't take my word for it, look it up, go and Google Helen Morgan, look up her Twitter feed, look at all of the things that she's been doing, and tell me that you wouldn't like a little bit of that. And I think that's what is, I think, really powerful, because if we can win this seat, it won't just be about getting a great MP for Tiverton Honiton, although it will be that. It will also be about rebuilding the southwest, and that is such an important part of the Liberal Democrat legacy, which we've lost and which we need to rebuild. So I had people on doors saying, I remember Paddy, I met Paddy, because this isn't that far from Yeovil. People go to Taunton to do their shopping, like it's not, it's very much that part of the world. So, people had met Paddy, they remembered him. And I think that is something that we need to rebuild, and it's a real opportunity. So, do you think you'll be able to elect us a new Paddy?
I mean, very hopefully, we're going to do our best. But obviously, one of the things we need the Liberal Democrats to come down and do the thing that they do, quite frankly, is in order to do it, the Lib Dems are absolutely incredible. We've seen from local elections, by-elections, general elections, when we move and we mobilise, like it really is quite astounding to watch. It's almost quite terrifying when you see the sort of almost yellow army coming towards you, and that's in a good way, in a great way, obviously. But that's sort of like that's what we need. We need everybody to mobilise and do the thing that they do and do the thing that we do best. And I think that's just, we do these sorts of things best. Like other parties wish they could be us when it comes to things like by-elections, and I think just don't leave it, don't wait until the final few weeks and be like, oh, I'll pop down. It is so easy to get here. Like we're on the M5, we've got Tiverton Parkway, we've got Honiton.
I have to say,
really
that's
here.
Something that I was quite surprised by. I think I kind of assumed I think because of this levelling up issue where I'm always kind of reading about lack of productivity, I was like, oh no, it's in Devon, it's going to be really hard to get to. No, totally isn't. It's like really right off the M5.
Yeah.
So yeah, I drove, but there's like really good train connections.
Yeah.
And there's 2 different train lines to get to the constituency, well, which makes it a lot easier. So there's the line going out of Paddington that comes into Tiverton Parkway. There's a different line coming out of Waterloo, I think it is.
Yeah, which goes into Honiton.
Which obviously, you know, that is great if you live in London. If you don't live in London, you know, it just makes it that bit easier to kind of connect with one of those train lines.
Yep.
So it just gives you loads of options for getting here. I mean, can you talk a little bit about what the opposition have been doing?
So I think that's the thing, that's the big thing to flag in this. Obviously, in our last 2 parliamentary by-elections, I don't think the opposition saw us coming. You know, there was a little bit of, oh, what are they doing with their stake boards? Oh, heavens, they're winning. So that is not true here. The Tories know we're coming. They have already been out campaigning. We've had Tory MPs here down in sort of the Seaton area and up in Tiverton. We have had opposition here, and they are working. You know, we absolutely should not take this for granted, and we should not think that we are going to surprise them a 3rd time. I think even they can learn their lesson after 2 elections. And I think that's the big thing to flag, is actually this is not going to be quite as not easy at all, but not quite as sort of simple where they are not playing.
We're not going to have it all our own way.
Yeah, we're absolutely not. And they're already here and they are working. And, you know, we've seen them out leafleting. We know they've been out canvassing. They're obviously putting stuff on social media about their action days. You know, they're here and they don't want to lose it. And I think they know that if we get a foothold back in this part of the southwest, that does spell a bit of a nightmare for them. You know, it used to be our heartland. We had loads of MPs down here. We had like real strength down here. And I think they know that actually it wouldn't take much for us to kind of kickstart that again. And so they're really conscious of, we can't lose this seat. And so that's a really big thing to flag, is this is not going to be quite so, they're not going to let us all have it our own way.
Yeah, and I think that for me, I think shows the real risk for us in this by-election, because I think in a way sort of Cheshire and Shropshire were sort of risk-free because no one expected us to win it. You know, like looking back, it's kind of mad that no one expected us to win Cheshire, because it's so obvious that we could have won Cheshire. You know, North Shropshire was a bigger deal, but you know, no one expected us to win those. But the fact that we did, you know, it was almost like a free hit in terms of the media publicity. It was like, wow, the Lib Dems are back. Whereas this one, you know, with the bookies' favourites, people expect us to win it. And I think that's my real fear, is that, you know, if we don't, and if we don't win it comfortably, you know, even if we just scrape a narrow win, you know, the narrative will be, you know, that the Lib Dem surge is sort of starting to run out of momentum. Yeah, and I think it's really important that we make sure that we win this, and we win it big, to make sure that we're maintaining that surge, to push us into Somerton and Frome, which will hopefully be coming later in the summer, to push us into, well, you know, we know that there's 56 MPs who are being investigated for sexual harassment. Hopefully none of them are Liberal Democrats. You know, so hopefully there'll be some more by-elections there. There's Windsor, where the MP is being investigated for bankruptcy. So, you know, there's all these potential by-elections coming, but actually we have to maintain that momentum. And if we don't, then we're in serious trouble.
And I think there's also, the other thing to flag is there's also the general election coming. Like, that is coming our way. There are, you know, more local elections next year. So Devon, for example, has local elections next year. We've got the general election coming at some point, and actually we need to spend however long it is keeping building that momentum. Because that will help our you know, obviously we know that the sort of party descends when we've got a by-election, and it's amazing, but obviously that's much harder to do in a general election. And if we are continually building that momentum, it will help in seats like Sheffield Hallam, it will help in seats like Wimbledon and East Walton and places like that, who may not have a by-election but who need that kind of big party momentum to keep going.
We can but hope. A by-election in all of our target seats, that would be great. Bring it. Sadly, I don't think we're that lucky. So there's just one more thing I should ask you about, which is the candidate. You know, who we haven't spoken about the candidate. Can you give us an update on where we are with that?
We're still going through the process at the moment. We hope to announce at some point soon, but we're still very much going through the process. So we will let you know as soon as we know.
Can you promise us that you will bring the candidate onto the podcast once he or she is selected?
I think I can probably do that. I will, I will check in with their diary manager when we have one, but I think we can probably do it.
So watch this space. We will hear from the candidate in due course.
Fantastic.
And hopefully you will get to meet them in person when you all come and help in Tiverton Honiton.
Yeah.